Hello and welcome to your development part 5 notes. It is late after school on a Friday. I'm sure the lights will go off, so be prepared. And these notes are going to be talking about self-concept, parenting styles, and then a little bit about gender development, but you'll have more notes on gender development tomorrow night. Okay, so let's start talking about, or let's review the goals. So we talked a little bit about Erik Erikson in our last notes and John Piaget, but they kind of throw in these like old goals, and I wanted to go back and review them. So if our goal during infancy, what we want to achieve is secure attachment, right? So that would be our attachment. We want to feel emotionally connected to something, someone more so, and that when we are away from it, we're okay. And we're with it, it makes us feel good. And that is our goal during infancy, is to achieve attachment. And if we never achieve attachment, there might be lifelong repercussions. So now we're going to talk about, if that is our goal in infancy, in childhood, our achievement is a positive sense of self. Okay, so if infancy, it's secure attachment. Childhood, which we're going on to next, is going to be, we want children to, at the age of 12, have a positive sense of self or know who they are. So we need to know what sense of self is. So self-concept, we're going to talk about 3 things in self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-awareness. Okay, so self-concept occurs at about approximately age 12, and it's an understanding and an assessment of who a person is. So at the time a person gets to be 12, they have a good understanding of who they are as a person. And I was talking with, I think, Nathan Hall after school. I don't know. I didn't know who I was at 12 years old. Don't know who I am now sometimes, or a good self-concept. But when I was looking more in your book, it's talking more about that you know you're a boy or a girl. You can describe your characteristics. So saying that you are a friendly person. You know what you are good at and what you are not good at. You know the people around you, like your friends. So when we're talking about self-concept, it's really like defining yourself as a person and your characteristics and knowing yourself versus knowing like your point in life. Okay, so there's a couple things that tie into self-concept. One of them is self-esteem. So self-esteem is, on top of knowing who you are, talking about how you feel about yourself or the person that you are. So kind of your worth of your self-concept. And then going back in time, self-awareness is a physical awareness. It's being able to recognize yourself in a mirror. This happens at about a year old, but 18 months, so a year and a half, is when children have a good schema, bringing that word back in, about what they look like, so they can tell in a mirror what's different about them. So they know like what their face looks like in a mirror, schema-wise. So if I put like a red dot on my son's nose and put him in the mirror, they'll look at themselves and then they go to like wipe it off. They realize that there shouldn't be a red dot on their nose. Okay, so self-awareness is a younger age, about a year to 18 months. Self-concept is your awareness of yourself as a person, and then self-esteem is kind of how you rate yourself based on your self-concept. Okay, so by the age of 12, we're looking to achieve self-concept, or a good sense of self. Okay, and a lot of this is going to go back to, remember, we're talking about social development in these notes. Now let's talk about how much our parents play a role in that. So there's different parenting styles. I'm going to take this one out because I put it in the next slide. You'll have to know all 3 of these parenting styles and what, oh, Miss Myers, it's all over the place, and what the good and bad things are about them, and then what type of children they tend to produce. Okay, so there's 3 parenting styles. When they look back, this is probably the most researched question with parenting, is does the type of parent you are affect the type of child that comes that grows up? Okay, so does parenting style, how much of an effect does it have on what type of person you'll be? All right, how much of your parents made you who you are? So the 3 parenting styles that you'll need to know, and the 2 of them sound the same. So there's authoritarian, permissive, and authoritative. So atarian and attative. I want you to, when we're going through, really pay attention to these. Both start with authora, so author. So this is rhetarian and this is rhetative. They sound very similar, and we're going to have to work on some ways in class how you're going to remember which is which, because they're very different. So the authoritarian, these are parents that impose rules and expect obedience. I said to do this, you do it because I say so. So no room for conversation. So authoritarian, okay? Permissive, so on the opposite end of that scale, permissive parenting style, they submit to the children's wishes and there's very little punishment. There's a lot of discussion about what's acceptable and what's not, but a lot of the times the children's wishes are put above the parents and there's very little punishment. And the authoritative, this is a parent who demands and responds, enforces rules, but explains the reasons behind it. No, you can't do that, and here's why. It's still what I say, but I'm giving you reason. And especially when children get to be older, like to be teenagers, your age, things are open for discussion because there's a understanding that rules exist to protect the child. And if the child feels like they're safe, then maybe that rule doesn't exist. So for instance, an authoritative parent would say, curfew's at 10. But mom, the movie's not over till 10:30, and like so-and-so, we have to drop so-and-so off, and yada yada. It's like, okay, then I need you home at 10:45 as soon as the movie's over, right? There's some type of give and take, but there's still a punishment if you're not home at 10:45. Versus the authoritarian would say, home at 10. But mom, no, home at 10. Why? Because I said so. Because that's your curfew time, right? It's not open for discussion, okay? So let's talk about what is the best and what type of children are produced from them. This is kind of like a Goldilocks thing, right? So like too much, too little, right in the middle, right? So the Goldie parents, like what is the best one? And maybe there's different situations for different people. But what they have found from studies, right? I can't make parents be authoritative or authoritarian or permissive, but what I can do is go back and study the person and then look at what their parents were, ask them about the parenting styles. So authoritative parents tend to make or equal having children that have high self-esteem, high self-reliance, and are pretty competent socially. Okay, so authoritative is going to be my high self-esteem, high reliance, high competence, good children. Okay, the authoritarian children that are never allowed to have open discussions, that it's my way or the highway, tend to have less social skills and less or lower self-esteem. And permissive parents tend to make more aggressive and less mature children. Okay, so children that can do whatever they want tend to be really aggressive, less mature, meaning that they always think like, oh, I need to get what I want. All right, now something that you should know about all these studies that were done, and they were pretty extensive and big, and the numbers that go along with them are good, is that most families studied were white middle class families. So when we pull these type of inferences about this type of parent equals this type of child, we're only really looking at a certain class and socioeconomic and ethnicity-wise being the same. Different cultures tend to have different parenting styles. We'll talk about that in just a second. So you should know that correlation does not equal causation. I feel like I say that a lot. But just because two things are correlated, the authoritative parents tend to have high self-esteem, self-reliance kids, does not mean that one causes the other. There could be other factors. Just because they're correlated doesn't mean that that causes it. Okay, let's look at parenting in different places in the world. So different child rearing occurs in different places in the world. Western culture tends to be more okay with other people watching their children, more of like this, the village raises your child. They're more open for conversation. Eastern cultures tend to have more of a family type of family is very important. It's strong bonds. So even if a parent is away, sometimes they take their kids to work with them, like strapped to them. Only family members are allowed to watch their children. So you can think about, we have a very diverse school and very diverse classes. Think about, and we'll have a conversation, what are some different things culture-wise, child rearing, that are different amongst our cultures? Maybe write some things down that are true of your culture. So let's start into the gender development. Again, we're focusing on social. So we'll do two things on gender development, and then the rest of it will be in the next notes. So first, let's go back and define gender. Gender, I want to make sure this "and" is really big, is a combination of both biological and socially influenced characteristics. So when we say gender, male or female, we're talking biology and the characteristics, socially influenced characteristics. So you can say female or male characteristics. You can say female or male gender-wise, like biologically male, acting-wise, they're aggressive. Why? So you can pick a characteristic and define it as male or female. These have huge influences on social development. So think about how you have developed socially because of you being a boy or a girl. And I just want to put in a little bit of biology so that 45 of the 46 chromosomes that humans have, boys and girls have, are exactly identical. And that one chromosome, the sex chromosome, so whether the second one is an X or a Y, makes a big difference biologically, and because of that, socially. Okay, so let's talk about 3 areas in which genders differ, and then we'll be done. We're going to talk about gender and aggression, social power, and then connectedness. Okay, so aggression, so starting with gender and aggression. We find that culture-wise, across the board, worldwide, males tend to have more physical aggression than females. Now, relational aggression is different. This is kind of being emotionally aggressive, so like ostracizing someone, getting mad easily, things like that. There's no difference with that with females and males, so we're talking all physical. And we see this around the world in aggressive, like hitting, murder rates 10 to 1, so 10 males to 1 female are convicted of murder, 7 to 1 in Canada. So pretty much universal. We find that males tend to be more aggressive, even starting at younger ages. All right? Social power-wise, males are viewed as the dominant, forceful, independent worldwide. Okay, so I guess I should put males here. So the males are the group that are considered to be dominant, forceful, independent. Worldwide, they have those type of characteristics put on them. 82% of the worldwide governing people are male, all right? And 10 to worldwide, when groups form, a male emerges as the natural leader. Now, we'll talk about some social reasons why, and this is also good conversation for class, but why? Are females more likely to elect males? Why are they less likely to stand up and take lead? And then connectedness, and we'll talk about females. Females tend to make more connections or be connected to the people around them than males tend to be. There's something called interdependent, meaning that they rely on each other more and they have more of a group mentality than men might. Females around the world are more likely to be religious. Males are less likely to attend church. On the phone, females talk on average, or they make 65% of the phone calls, right, versus the 35% for men. And then when they're actually on the phone, they tend to talk longer than males do. As you can see right now, I'm just still talking about this, all right? So these are just some statistics from your book. It'll be good conversation for our Socratic in class. But I want you to be thinking about, are these similarities and differences, so aggression, social, connectedness, are these things that are innate, meaning that biology, like we're born with it, that we're genetically prone to do these things, or are we just perpetuating the societal rules that we've been living by our entire life? Okay. In our next notes, we'll talk about gender development. Okay, so how we go through what I'm going to say, like the biology of gender development, how socially it changes over time. But for today, I'm going to call it. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.